Hey, what's going on, Chad? Here, 3 o'clock. Justin Jefferson is rich. Agreed to a new extension with the Vikings, 4 years, 110 mil in guaranteed money. He'll be around for the development of rookie quarterback J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. Oregon State tops UC Irvine 11-6. They move on to the Super Regional in Lexington, Kentucky. The Oregon Ducks will play the Super Regional down in College Station. Padres Tucupita Marcano is facing a lifetime ban for betting on Pirates games while rehabbing from a knee injury. 4 other minor league players are facing potential discipline for gambling as well. Sad news out of the NFL. Cowboys Hall of Famer Larry Allen has passed away at the age of 52. The NBA Finals will kick off on Thursday. That tip-off is going to be at 5:30 from TD Garden in Boston. It's going to be on ABC. Celtics favored by 6.5 in Game 1. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad's coming at you right now.
Bridger, Holmes, and Wilson Weber, the battery. Jacob Craig now at first. Pizzata at second. Hainline at short. Jabin at third. Dallas Macias in left. Micah McDowell in center. Brady Casper in right. 2 outs, nobody on. Bottom of the ninth. 11-6 Beavers. The Beavs and out away. The 1-0 pitch. A pop fly into shallow left center. Hainline calls. Hainline backs up. Elijah is there and makes the catch. The ball game is over. The Beavers are Corvallis Regional Champions. The Beavers 11, UC Irvine 6, and it's off to Lexington for the Beavers and the Super Regionals this weekend.
The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad, presented by Lazy Boy. What is your strategy for comfort?
Hey, you're probably looking for Dwight. Sorry to inform you, Dwight has a new number. If you could tell him to tell his associates and other business partners or whoever he works with to let them know that he's changed his number. I am getting really tired of receiving all your guys' texts and voicemails. Thank you and have a nice day.
Strap in. The Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad starts now.
Oh, it's
Godfather.
been one of those days, Chad.
It has been. I forgot about that voicemail there. I love that, though, because I still have your old number in my phone, and occasionally I'll text the wrong number just thinking about that guy because I know it irritates the daylights out of him.
Oh, don't do that. That poor guy.
All right, we got a big show today. I've been watching the Women's College World Series in the studio today, and because of weather, they pushed back the start times. I just realized they've moved the Oklahoma-Florida game, the elimination game, to tomorrow. So
Really?
the Gators and Sooners will get the rest of the day off, and they'll go at it again because Florida beat my Sooners 9-3 today. They pull off the upset, and now winner will take all tomorrow and advance to the championship series. Stanford and Texas will play here a little bit later.
Mm-hmm.
If Texas wins, they're into the championship series. If Stanford wins, then they'll play game 2 of that series tomorrow to determine who's going to get to the championship series. So Oklahoma and Texas are the top 2 teams in the country. They pretty much have been all year. So we'll see if they meet up. That's what I want. And we'll see how things shake out. And, of course, the baseball is going on the boys' side where Oregon's on their way to College Station.
Yeah.
Great season for the Ducks. And Oregon State
Absolutely.
able to get their bats back in order for the Corvallis Regional Godfather. Now they're on their way to Lexington, Kentucky.
Yeah. Both teams, I think, have a pretty tall order ahead. They're not, they're not seated nearly as high as their opponents are. I was very impressed with Oregon's 2 wins over Cal Santa Barbara down there at Santa Barbara. Traditionally a really good baseball school, well coached, and the Ducks got great pitching. They were terrific last night, and Oregon State, on the other hand, got good pitching, but their usual great hitting, and they're tough to handle. They're tough to hold down. Travis Pizzana, a couple home runs during the weekend, and they came through with a big win.
Now, how big time is Bizana? You watch a lot of baseball.
Big,
Is he
big
legit?
time. Yeah, top 3 pick for sure. Various mock drafts have him either 1, 2, or 3 in the draft. Yeah,
That's awesome.
Gonna make a lot of money.
What was that stat you told me yesterday when we were bumping around the golf course about how many grand slams he has?
That's not him that has those. He has.
Oh, Adley Rutschman. No, who is it?
No, it's oh geez.
Don't worry about it. I put you on the spot.
Yeah.
I thought it was Bizana
No, it's another guy. He's got 5 Grand Slams during the season.
for Oregon State.
Yes.
And who was the player you said that had 5 in his career? Steve Garvey?
Steve Garvey had 5 in his entire career.
Gosh,
Yeah.
that's amazing.
Playing 154 games a season.
Steve Garvey's like one of the most handsome baseball players in the history of baseball players.
Yeah. Yeah, he is.
He was a ladies' man.
He was.
Big time.
Yeah. He had a beautiful wife, and they're not married anymore. I haven't. He was going to run for what, governor or senator or something from California. I never kind of heard what happened.
I need to check in on the political career of Steve Garvey.
Oh, Gavin Turley is the guy.
Oh, Turley.
5 Grand Slams. Yeah.
Nice work. That's
Right.
pretty amazing.
Good hitter. Yeah.
5 this year.
5 this year.
Steve
And he
Garvey,
he
5 in his career.
I know. He came up twice with the bases loaded today, and he couldn't hit one, that chump. No, I'm kidding, of course. But, yeah.
That's terrific. Well, we'll get to the NBA Finals. We got thoughts on that. We're going to talk baseball. We want to get to Caitlin Clark and the type of treatment she's receiving right now as a rookie in the WNBA. It's very bizarre, but we want to break that down as well. We have a Bo Nix update coming later in the show. We got info on Dylan Gabriel, the Oregon Ducks quarterback, and why he stayed another year in college and why he landed at Oregon. And I think when you hear why and why he made the decision to walk from Oklahoma, get into the portal, go to Oregon, I think it shows the type of teammate he is and the type of character he has. So that's terrific. We got new insight on Kyrie Irving and this remarkable turnaround that we're seeing as a Dallas Maverick. And we'll also share some insight on what you need if you want to be in the NBA Finals. It's not what you think, but there is a common ingredient amongst teams this century about what you need if you want to reach the NBA Finals. So we got information on that. We completed the tournament yesterday, the couples Chapman.
A lot of people waiting for that, by the way.
Yes. Your wife and I finished up yesterday in conditions that were hideous. It really stinks to get all excited about a tournament. And then because we live in such a crappy weather region, which is the Northwest, playing a tournament at the beginning of June, Saturday's conditions were terrific. But yesterday it was the monsoon river, as had been reported by the meteorologists in town. But it was wet, it was windy, and it was one of those days where you had to be bundled up. It was cold and just not an enjoyable process out there. I didn't like it. I don't like being cold, and the older I get, the more I hate it. And then the problem is on the golf course, hands are wet, grips are wet. You want to curl up in the fetal position because you're cold. So it's just that really put a damper, I think, for everyone who participated yesterday, the conditions.
Yeah, but not only that, Chad, the one thing I know is that both you and Nancy do not like riding in golf carts. You'd rather walk.
You're right.
And I've seen Nancy, and I sense the same thing about you. She plays much better when she's walking, but yesterday would have been impossible to walk. It was just too nasty out. So you were both in a cart, which I think impacted. And I'm not making excuses. It was bad for everybody.
It was bad for everyone. But, yeah, I walk every single round I play.
Yeah.
I ride in a cart maybe once a year. So it is a different game if you're used to being in a cart or walking with your push cart, which I do, and then you ride in a cart. But it was the right call. And by the way, your golf cart, your custom-made cart from Gill Golf Carts, it's awesome. And it goes a lot faster than other golf carts. That thing's souped up.
Yeah.
It's got turbocharge, man. I love that thing.
Yeah.
But we made it through. And the best part about the round is that we played really well except for 3 holes on Saturday. And then yesterday we had a tough start on holes 10 and 11, but, you know, we made some strides as the round went along. But the best part is about Nancy is that her attitude, her approach, it's the same hole in and hole out, and she's great to play with because she has the proper attitude. And I'm one of those guys where I usually play with mostly guys that I know, regulars that I see on the course every week. But when you get someone who's in a bad mood, throwing tantrums, acting crazy.
Yeah.
And these are people that don't play very often, and yet they're confused as to why they don't play well. It just puts a whole damper on the entire mood. Or you get like the sticklers out there that are just gripping about everything. It can just bring the whole mood down. But Nancy, her perspective and the way she operates is nice. So I really enjoyed the time. And everyone out at Willamette Valley was wonderful. The accommodations were terrific. That is a top-notch facility, and the service staff and the people that are there that work there, terrific. Sincerely mean that. They are sensational, from the cart girl all the way up to everyone in the food staff inside the clubhouse. That place is awesome. I can see why you guys love it. And what was neat about being inside there yesterday after the round and the tournament was finished, your club, it's like its own separate community, right? So there's a
Yeah.
lot of people who might be widowed or couples who may not be well connected to someone else in town, or they don't have their families close by, but the club provides that extended family where you can have
Yeah.
relationships, know people and stuff. And just sort of to see that go down, and I had a chance to meet some great people out there in the course. I like that aspect of what you guys have going on out there.
Well, Chad, I much appreciated that you showed up for the little get together after the tournament because you're a popular figure out there. People knew you were going to be playing. And
Yeah.
You're always so courteous to all the people who listen to us on the radio and not nearly as grumpy as I am sometimes. So it was very successful from that point of view. And I'm really happy that you guys have committed to doing it again next season, right?
Yeah,
You're
I
gonna
made
go
her
again?
promise that she would select me next year,
Yeah.
and we're going to do it again. And the great thing about playing in the first competitive tournament is I've never played the Chapman format before, so you get a feel for it and you understand what you're looking at, and I can better prepare for that. Because until you do something, you just don't know
Yeah.
what it's all about. So I enjoyed the entire process. I also like the pressure of, I like the feeling of needing to make a big shot or to make a big putt. I like the pressure. It feels good to be out there knowing like my teammates depending on me to get something done here.
Yeah.
And so that's pretty cool. In fact, I forgot which hole it was yesterday, but with the Chapman format, you have your choice after the second shot from both of you to choose where you want to hit from.
Mhm.
And I had about a 55-yard chip shot, or Nancy could hit from closer to the green. And I looked at the shot and I said, I got this. And it was a back pin placement. And she goes, well, I just don't want to be in that bunker. And so when I stepped over the shot, I was confident that I was going to strike it well. But right before I started my swing, I thought, if I screw this up, she is going to kill me. But I was able to put it within 5 feet of the pin. So she was happy with that. But just that pressure there where you got to make decisions, you got to execute. But all in all, it was nice. But, dude, wet golf, this is why I hate living up here, man. There are
Yeah.
people, like you talk about the Ducks playing down at Santa Barbara. If you live in a nice weather state where you get sunshine year-round, you don't have to worry about wet grips, cold bodies, wet clubs. The whole situation is just messy. It drives me crazy. Like, there are people that actually can wake up and play like 300-plus days a year because they don't deal with rain. There are people that live like that.
You showed up with shorts on, too, didn't you?
I did, and that changed. About 4 holes in, I'm like, okay, I'm bringing out the rain gear. I had to put the pants on.
And
That's
there's
freezing my
nothing worse.
balls off.
Yeah, I was going to say, but there's nothing worse than playing with all that rain gear
Oh,
on.
I hate feeling like I'm all bundled up and you're restricted. You can't move. I don't like to wear a lot of different gear when I'm on the course. I hate it. I despise it. But yesterday I had no choice because I was freezing booty. The only other annoying part about yesterday was, see, the first day we had the entire group. There were 6 total people for each group. And we had great people to play with on Saturday. And we had nice people yesterday. But there was one guy. We had a situation where we were trying to decide which shot to hit. And there was discussion amongst the group about the specific rules. And this dude rolled over in his cart and he's like, there are some people who would have an issue with what you're doing. I don't. But there are some people.
Yeah.
And I looked around. I'm like, who are these people you're
Where are
referring to,
these
sir?
people, right?
There is nothing worse than golf tip guy or douchey golf tip rule guy. There are guys where it's like, come on, man, ease up.
But if he would have just owned it and said, I have a problem with that,
Yeah.
it would have been better than some people might have a problem with that.
Just come up and say, hey, you shouldn't have marked the ball back there. You need to play from here. We would have been like, no problem.
Yeah.
But he didn't do that because he was afraid of confrontation. He went with the some people. It's like, okay, well, you're a douche. So that's all right. We'll take our penalty and hit from here. That's pretty much how that went down. And it was one of those deals where your wife, it's funny because she's not mean, right? But she gave me that look and kind of shook her head like, whatever, man, that's total nonsense. So we did. We took our penalty drop and hit the shot and moved on. That's how that went down, Godfather. All right. We'll keep things rolling here on the show. When we come back, we received a message today. So you have a retraction you would like to make.
Some people didn't like something I said last week, Chad. So we're going to have to deal with that.
In regards to Bill Walton. So we will have, we'll make sure that some people are taken care of next segment. We'll give you an update on Oregon State going to Lexington. And then from there, we'll deal with Caitlin Clark and the way she's being treated right now by some of the vets in the WNBA. You got the Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Well, I tell you what, Godfather, that money, 110 million in fully guaranteed money for Justin Jefferson. Good for him.
He's not a quarterback.
No,
That's quarterback money, though, pretty
no.
much.
I get torn when it comes to receivers. Like, I love wide receivers, but I've seen great quarterbacks win championships and have terrific success without a big-time wide receiver.
Yeah.
I just don't know how much money you want to invest in that position. Look at the Kansas City Chiefs, right? They had Tyreek Hill, arguably the best receiver in football. He goes to Miami. They draft and they bring in some other guys, and they still win championships. You don't have to have the top-notch receiver to get it done. I guess the key is for me is that if you're going to pay that type of money to a wide receiver, you better have the quarterback who can get that guy the football, or it's wasted money.
Yeah.
So hopefully Minnesota, with their good head coach and the young quarterback in J.J. McCarthy, they can get him up to speed quickly so that you're able to cash in on the type of money that Jefferson's making, because he is a dynamic playmaker for sure, but that's big-time money for a wide receiver on a team that's got to develop J.J. McCarthy.
Well, and the other thing, salaries are usually based on supply and demand. You know, it's like great quarterbacks. There's not very many of them, so the ones that are great can get the money.
Yes.
Now, I do think right now the market is pretty full of outstanding receivers. Now, they're not all John Jefferson, but you can get guys who are good enough to win a Super Bowl without spending that kind of money, is all I'm saying. Now, the quarterback thing, to get a quarterback good enough to win a Super Bowl, that might be a different tier of quarterback. I don't know. With wide receivers, I'm not so sure you have to pay that much. You could get a couple of pretty good guys for what he's making for one guy.
All right, Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. Real quick, what do you think about Oregon State's chances now as they move on to Lexington for the Super Regional?
I think it's going to be really difficult. Kentucky's loaded. They're one of the top teams in the country, and they better. Oregon State's going to have to pitch well. That's the thing, and their bullpen's going to have to be up to snuff. Which in this tournament so far they've been pretty good. So if they get good pitching, they got a chance because they'll hit anybody. I think now that they seem to have broken out of that late season slump they had. But it's going to be fun to watch. Super regionals are really fun. 2 out of 3 games against the same team. So it gives them a real legit chance to get to Omaha.
What about Oregon? They're on to College Station now. You were impressed with their pitching over the weekend. What do you think about their chances moving forward?
The Ducks have really good overall pitching staff, and I think when you have good pitching, you can beat anybody. But going down to College Station in front of a hostile crowd, probably pretty warm weather, that's a good team too. And so, you know, both of our teams are going to be underdogs. But I salute the baseball programs at both Oregon and Oregon State for getting to a super regional. That's a great achievement right then and there. You're one of the top 16 teams in the country.
All right. Rip City Drive with Dwight and Chad. I received a voicemail today, and I passed it on to you, and the gentleman wanted your email, and so I was able to connect him with your email, and you were able to respond to him. He called me. I talked to him. You talked to him. His name is John Bassett. Why don't we start with this? Who is John Bassett?
Well, Chad, John Bassett is a guy who was served as the attorney for Bill Walton back in the days when he sued the Portland Trailblazers. And we talked about that last week. It was last Monday, I believe, a week ago, when we did the Bill Walton, the entire show dedicated to Bill, and played a lot of clips and had a lot of guests. But anyway, here's what he said in the email. A week ago, you stated on the radio that Bill Walton did not have much of a case against the Trailblazers. You also stated that they threw the case out of court. You were wrong in making both statements. Both of those statements were slanderous to Bill and to me. Okay, let me deal with that. The second one first. They threw the case out of court. That was a bad mistake by me because I knew better. There was a settlement. It didn't get to court, but there was a settlement. So it wasn't thrown out of court. My bad. I retract that statement fully. The other statement, Bill Walton didn't have much of a case. I was told that by several people involved at the time. Now, if that's not true, I will retract the statement. Now, it's hard. That's kind of an opinion by me, not necessarily a statement of fact, I would say. And it's hard to get facts in it because both sides signed a non-disclosure agreement therefore you can't really tell what the settlement was. You don't know how much money. But he went on in this to say there was a settlement of Bill's malpractice claim against the Trailblazers. One of the conditions were that the terms of the settlement were not disclosed. And he said, when you find a licensed medical doctor, and I'm quoting now from John Bassett's letter to me, when you find a licensed medical doctor who's willing to testify under oath that injecting an athlete with xylocaine and Mercaine in a weight-bearing extremity is not medical malpractice, then please let me know. The person's medical license should be immediately terminated. Sincerely, John Bassett. Now, that's something I didn't know because I wasn't privy to what went on in the lawsuit. But if that's the case, I'm happy to retract anything that John thought was incorrect. He provided new information in terms of those pain-killing substances that were used on Bill. I didn't intend to slander anybody. Those were statements that when you do a 3-hour radio show, you throw some things out there. And again, the one I'm apologetic the most for is that it was thrown out of court. I knew better. I knew it wasn't thrown out of court, but in the midst of a long show, I said that. So my apologies to John. I hope he's a happy man now and he doesn't have to sue me for slander. I did not intend to slander, although I would say, given the atmosphere at the time, he was a public figure, as was Bill.
Yeah, and you approached Bill on multiple occasions trying to clarify some of the statements in his book.
Yes, I did, and he basically said, Dwight, it's my book. Okay, Bill.
All right. Okay, let's talk a little WNBA.
Yeah.
This situation is going on with Caitlin Clark right now, and she's getting kind of, we call it baptism by fire. She's a rookie in the WNBA, and other players are taking note, and they're playing physical with Caitlin Clark game in and game out. And we saw it recently in Indiana's game against Chicago where Trinity Carter came up during a dead ball situation and hip-checked Caitlin Clark out of bounds.
Yeah, to the floor.
To the floor.
Yeah.
It was a dirty play and over the top, and I like the way Caitlin responded. She didn't have words for Trinity Carter. She didn't react. She didn't try to start a fight. She's trying to, I think, carry herself in a way. It's like, hey, I'm a rookie. I know that this is part of the game. I'm going to take my bumps and my bruises, and I'm going to continue to press forward and play. But, I've wondered about this for a long time. I've watched the NBA for a long time, Godfather, and there's like a line, right, where when you come into the league as a rookie, especially a highly touted rookie, you're obviously going to be challenged by veterans who are in the NBA.
Yeah, you have a target. There's no question.
You have a target, whether you're LeBron James, whether you're Kobe Bryant, you're Michael Jordan, whoever the person may be. If you're a big-time player and everyone takes note of you, the veterans who are in the league are going to test you to see how good you really are. And that means you're going to get some aggressive defense. You might get hard fouled when you're going to the rim. Like, that's all part of it. And I understand that, and I embrace it because that's part of the process of becoming a big-time professional player.
Right.
Where the Caitlin Clark thing appears to be over the top is the hip check by Carter being an example. That wasn't on a hard drive to the basket. It wasn't even on a basketball play.
Yeah.
She came running up as Caitlin was waiting to get the ball that was about to be inbounded, hip checked her, and she went flying to the floor out of bounds. That's not within the play. That's trying to make a point. And then after she knocked her down, you could see that she was mouthing some inappropriate words towards Caitlin. It's like she was trying to intimidate her, get physical. And this is happening now on a regular basis with Caitlin. And it would appear to me that because of how big she is, how popular she was coming out of college, the fact that people are making note of how great she is and the way she's transformed the game with her shooting ability, it just appears like there's a lot of petty jealousy going on from some of the veterans who are there, and that's why they're trying to send the message. That's what it looks like to me. But if they don't take care of her or someone doesn't step in, they might get hurt. What do you think's going on here?
Yeah, I totally agree with you, Chad. There's no question there's some jealousy, and it's, I think, being conveyed in a rather unsportsmanlike and nasty way. But I would say this too, Chad, and I've seen it. Like Matt Barnes, of all people, stepped up in defense of Caitlin Clark, and a lot of pros have said the same thing. which is when are her teammates going to step up and protect her? Like, can you imagine in the NBA if your prized rookie, who's probably the best player on your team, gets knocked down, and that person who did it should be immediately surrounded by 4 or 5 of your teammates.
Yeah.
They should be all over that, helping her up, but then being around the person who did it. You cannot let that kind of stuff go. You can't, or you look like you're endorsing it. And that's almost what it looks like. Sometimes I get the impression her teammates are jealous of her too because she's getting all the attention. But my goodness, she's playing on a terrible team. I watched their game last weekend. Chad, they are just not good at all. And there's not much she can do about it. She can pass and pass and pass, but if your teammates can't make shots, can't do anything with the ball, it's futile. And I think the least they can do is defend her, step up, protect her, and that's not going on, and it needs to.
Yeah, it's crazy. Let's take a listen to Chicago Sky head coach Teresa Weatherspoon on the situation.
And then Kennedy just wanted to give you an opportunity to talk about that moment between you and Caitlin. What was that play, what was said, and kind of what led to.
Next question.
Yeah, like Kate, it seemed like she turned to you a little bit.
Yeah.
After
I ain't answering no Caitlin Clark questions.
did she say anything to you?
I don't know what she said.
What'd you say to her?
I didn't say anything.
That's enough. We're good.
She's good.
Yeah, I wasn't expecting it, but I think it's just like, just respond, calm down, let your play do the talking. It is what it is. It's a physical game. Go make the free throw and then execute on offense. And I feel like that's kind of what we did, but you know, it is what it is, I guess. I don't know.
The head coach for the Sky has come out and said, hey, physical play, intensity, and a competitive spirit are hallmarks of Chicago Sky basketball. Trinity got caught up in the heat of the moment in an effort to win the game. She and I have discussed what happened, and it was not appropriate, nor is it what we do or who we are. Trinity understands there are better ways to handle situations on the court, and she will learn from this as we all will. So they didn't handle it well in the moment. Caitlin, obviously, you heard her at the end of the clip. She handled it extremely well, but what does the WNBA need to do to get this crap to stop? How do you handle this? How do you get this to how do you get the players to deal with this in a better way than just taking shots at her, cheap shots?
Well, I think the first thing you do is send a memo out saying that the league is aware that one player is being
targeted,
bullied a little bit, I would say, by bigger players. And if it continues, the fines and suspensions will be levied as needed. And I think that's what you have to do. They're not making enough money that fining them is not a big deterrent. I think if you fine people in that league, you really hurt them because they're not making much to begin with. So I would say you threaten them with fines, suspensions. Suspensions means you don't get paid for the game that you miss. So I think that's what has to happen. And again, you know, I'm asking teammates to stand up for her. There's not going to be a fight because there's no fights in the NBA either. But you still stand there and you protect them. You act like you're going to fight. You show the determination that they're there to protect her. But nobody's allowed to fight anymore. So you don't have to worry. I would be a tough guy in there. I would stand up for her. Because what's somebody going to really do? Punch me? No, nobody's going to throw any punches. There's not going to be a fight.
But you got to defend your teammate.
Yeah.
If someone's taking shots at her, cheap shots,
Right.
especially the blindside cheap shots where someone's hip checking you, and she didn't even know she was there. She came up blindsided her with the hip check, and she went out of bounds.
And so it gets to be like baseball where if you throw at my person, well, I'm going to have to throw at one of yours.
Yeah.
And so that's what you go up and say, you know, unless you want to get knocked to the ground, don't do that anymore.
Yeah.
Because one of you is going down.
Do you think Caitlin should just continue to handle it the way she is?
That doesn't do her any good to react.
Complain, react, or anything.
No,
Just do it the way you're doing it.
Yeah.
It's a physical game. It's part of the process.
Yeah.
She'll earn the respect of other players by handling herself that way.
Right.
I truly believe that.
Yeah, and whining about it will not earn her any respect at all.
No, and I wouldn't want her to whine about it.
No.
Because that's only going to put a bigger target on you. The the part that's a bit weird is Caitlin Clark, whether these other players are jealous of her or not, whether they like her or not, or whatever the situation may be, the truth is she's opening up revenue streams for all the players.
Oh, yeah.
And
they're flying charter now, for crying out loud.
they should celebrate the fact that there's a player that other people want to watch. She has a lot of fans, and she's going to bring more eyeballs to the sport, which is going to bring in more revenue, which is going to help everyone. They should celebrate that. You can still go out there and try to shut her down and compete.
Yeah.
But don't make it personal and take cheap shots at her when really she's only helping grow the game.
Yeah.
That's really what it comes down to. The petty jealousy is crazy to me. But I'll say this. These type of actions make me want to watch more Indiana Fever games to see how Caitlin Clark is dealing with it and how other players respond. I used to love it in the NBA when there were teams who would show up and you knew that there was a bitter little personal rivalry between a couple of guys on the floor. I like that. I like knowing that there are a couple of guys out there that don't like each other or there's bitterness from both sides. It makes the game more exciting for me.
Well, I'll say this, Chad. If you're planning on watching more Indiana Fever games, good luck to you because
it's a rough watch.
It's a terrible watch. They're not good. And I'm telling you, as a whole, it bothers me a little. The league hasn't improved as much as people let on that it has.
Yeah.
We're still seeing a lot of sloppy play, a lot of missed shots, a lot of jump balls, a lot of crazy turnovers, and a lot of things that are routine in basketball. When they're done, they get applauded way more than they should. There was a fast break by the Fever where they made 2 passes, and it looked really nice. It was a nice fast break. All right, you see that 10 times in the NBA in one game. You saw it one time in this game, but you would have thought that was something unbelievable. What a great play. Yeah, it was a great play, but let's settle down a little bit. It was a routine fast break, and somebody that was open got a layup. Great, but things are being overstated a little bit, and I'm not. Look, if you love watching the WNBA, I encourage you to watch the WNBA. I would just say for now, not any, but I don't watch college basketball either. Men's college basketball, I don't watch it because it's not what I'm used to seeing in terms of quality basketball.
No, men's college hoops is, for the most part, brutal compared to the NBA.
Exactly, and that's the point I'm making.
Yeah.
I covered the NBA too long. I'm used to that kind of basketball. Now, I can watch high school basketball, either girls or boys, because I understand the level and I understand what to expect from it. But my expectations were a little high when it came this weekend to the WNBA.
Well, assuming she doesn't get hurt by some cheap shot, this is only going to make Caitlin Clark a better basketball player.
Yeah.
I saw this with Scottie Pippen early in his career in Chicago. The Detroit Pistons targeted him because they believed he was soft. And through those battles where he got roughed up, he became a better player, as did MJ. You get stronger. I think Caitlin will adjust, learn how to deal with the physicality, and become a better player because of it.
And in the meantime, the Fever ought to try to get the female version of Maurice Lucas on that team to protect her.
Yeah.
Seriously.
And I think their coach is Christy Sides. Coach Sides needs to get on our other players and say, look, if someone gets knocked to the floor, whether it's Caitlin Clark or anyone else, get your asses over there and help her up, and then let the other people know that if you do that again, we're going to have some issues.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you handle that.
It absolutely is.
All right, we keep things rolling here on the Rip City Drive. Do we have any retractions from that segment? Are we good here?
Well, we might. We're probably here in about a week.
All right, I think we're good. When we come back, the amount of miles that the two teams are going to be traveling in the Stanley Cup Finals is off the charts.
Yeah, crazy, isn't it?
Hope they're not flying commercial for the Stanley Cup Finals, Godfather.
I doubt it, although in that league, you never know.
All right, what did Scotty Bethune just say? Walk and carry all day? That's insane.
That's what he said. Playing in carts sucks. Walk and carry all day. I need it for rhythm. That's what
Yes.
Scotty said.
I agree with the rhythm part. I just don't want to carry my bag
Yeah.
and bring on extra fatigue on a hot day because that's only going to cause a disruption in your swing at some point. I'd rather have the push cart so I can have all my accessories and goodies that are attached to the cart. I
Well,
respect it, but still, that's tough.
Don't you think golf's hard enough on your back over time, and then to compound that by carrying clubs around all day?
I felt like a 90-year-old man last night. After I got myself warmed up, I sat down on the couch and I started watching some video, like biography on Johnny Carson. And I don't remember it because I fell asleep. And I ended up taking a late day nap after, my weekend of golf activities. I was gassed after yesterday. I felt old.
I watched that American Gladiators documentary. Holy cow.
Shacker has told me that thing is dynamite. I haven't seen it yet. I haven't watched it.
It's crazy, those people, what they went through for American Gladiators for very little pay, no medical insurance at all. They had to pay their own medical bills, and some of them are ending up crippled and all kinds of things off being on that show.
Also, Shacker, right before we came back in my ear, reminded me of something that's awful. When I was going to Idaho last weekend with Isaac, it was the kickoff of Yacht Rock season, and so they moved the Yacht Rock station down. It's at Channel 17 right now, which is beautiful. But they did some type of cute little deal over the Memorial Day weekend. They called it Club Yacht Rock, where they were having Yacht Rock songs with some type of club beat behind it.
Oh, gosh.
It was the most god-awful thing I've ever heard in my life.
Why would they do that?
I don't know.
Yacht Rock fans don't want that.
I don't want that.
And you're the number one Yacht Rock fan in the world.
That actually might be a true statement.
Yeah.
I think I am. Of that genre, I don't think there's a bigger fan. So when I heard that, I was like, this is awful. I had to turn it away and went to Yacht Rock Deep Cuts.
But Yacht Rock is kind of completely opposite from all that club disco kind of stuff, right? I mean, I don't know. Maybe it's not.
No, it's offbeat. It's off base. It's terrible. It was awful. I know because I love the music, and I had to turn it away from that. I was like, what are you doing?
I didn't listen over the weekend because I was listening to sports. But what? I mean, like they put a beat with the song?
No. The best way to describe it, it would be like going to El Gaucho and putting ketchup on a steak that they bring to your table. Don't mess it up, man. What are you doing? I hate that kind of stuff. Why are you doing this to my music? It drives me crazy. So, anyways, but I do love the deep cuts because it's like, uncharted waters for the rock and roll connoisseur, the way the little intros and stuff, the jingles are great. All right, the Stanley Cup Finals, Florida and Edmonton. And the most fascinating part about this matchup for me, the exact distance, just over 2,500 miles exists between Edmonton and Sunrise, Florida. That is absolutely insane.
Yeah. Yeah, there's not going to be a lot of fans making that trek back and forth. That's for sure.
It cost $1 billion to go cheer on your team.
Yeah.
That is insane. 2,500 miles. That is incredible. But as you pointed out, what's really crazy is how hard Canada has now of trying to win a Stanley Cup final.
Oh.
How much does it drive them crazy that their game is taken over by teams in the States? They've got to hate it. It's like us with the NBA and Europeans coming in to take over.
Yeah. No, and
screw Canada, too, by the way.
I tell you, and nothing is more important in Canada than hockey.
Nothing. Not
That's
even close.
It's more important than anything. I mean, people here don't realize how big it is. And it's just huge. Like even in the Olympics, if they lose the gold medal in the Olympics, the whole country is depressed. It's terrible. And now they haven't won the Stanley Cup they haven't won since what, 93? Is that what it was? I'll look it up. I just sent it a while ago. It's
hockey.
93 is the last time they won the cup.
That's crazy. That's really insane.
Yeah. They're usually not even in the finals, but they have a chance this year at least.
Who do you like in the matchup, Florida and Edmonton?
Well, I think Florida's a better team. They were in the finals last year. Traditionally, in the last few years, they've been really tough. They're physical. But they have to deal with Connor McDavid. And we talk about superstars. He is the superstar in hockey right now. He's really fun to watch.
How do players that are born in the States become great hockey players because they don't have access to the junior leagues that the kids in Canada do. It's a different system.
Well, it's a different system, Chad, but they a lot of them now are playing in very, very solid bantam and midget systems in the U.S., and then they're going into the juniors.
Did you say midget? We might need a
That's
retraction
what it's
on that.
called. Capital M. That's a midget and bantam. That's what they call it. I didn't invent that. That's what they call it. I know you're right. There's another retraction coming. But, yeah, the Winterhawks almost always have some U.S. players on it. Dallas, believe it or not, has turned out like the Jones brothers, Seth Jones and his brother. They were Winterhawks. They've been playing in the NHL for a long time. And that Minnesota area, tons of hockey players coming from there.
That reminds me of, I know a guy who is putting together a party. I can't give away too many details, but it's a Willy Wonka themed party.
Uh-oh.
And, of course, if you're going to do that, you got to have Oompa Loompas, right?
Yeah.
I want an Oompa Loompa now. Like, you can't do that party without the Oompa Loompas, but you can't have, like, you would need little people, right? Wouldn't you need that for Oompa Loompas? You couldn't have, like, normal-sized people play Oompas. That wouldn't be proper.
Yeah, I don't think I can comment on that.
Okay, I'm
really.
just curious. Just a passing thought in my mind.
Yeah.
Well,
What kind of party is that, for crying out loud?
yeah, I can't give away too many details, but I think it's going to be pretty good.
Okay.
Pretty good based on the details I was given. I wish we had a hockey team here in Portland, so maybe we could be able to cover a Stanley Cup
That'd
final
be
sometime.
great. Wouldn't it be great?
One of the most enjoyable times I had was San Jose and Pittsburgh. You know, about 10 years ago in the Stanley Cup final, getting a chance to go down to the Shark Tank and watch games, and the intensity and the crowd fare and everything. It was epic.
Yeah.
Absolutely awesome. And one game, I was with one of my buddies. We were up above the ice on the walkways,
Oh, yeah.
looking straight down at the game. It was unbelievable. But we can't have good things here in Portland, apparently.
Yeah. Peter Sokach and I watched a game in Toronto, and the hockey press boxes are so much higher than, like, the basketball ones are. I had a little trouble at that height. That was a little too much. I didn't want to lean forward too much.
I haven't talked to Sore Crotch in a while. How's he doing?
I guess pretty good. I haven't seen him in a long time, but we correspond on a little message board. Once
How's
in a while.
Angel Face doing? She's still good. I
Pretty
hope?
good, I think, given she lives with him. So I don't know how she does it.
He hit the jackpot.
Oh,
he
he
married
listens-
his dream girl.
Yeah, he did. And he listens to our show constantly because I'm always getting comments from him about stuff we say. So
He owes me for his wife and his children because without
Yeah.
the encouragement that me and Peterson gave him, he would have never had the cojones to approach
Angel Face.
at Starbucks. It would have never happened. So at least I can look back knowing that I have done some good in my life.
He overachieved there.
Yeah. All right, we'll keep things rolling here. That's Dwight. I'm Chad. You got the Rip City Drive. Hope you're enjoying your crappy Monday with the weather. It's hideous outside right now. Absolutely awful. All right, Chad here, 4 o'clock. Justin Jefferson got paid, agreed to a new extension with the Vikings. 4 years and $110 million in guarantees. He's going to be around for a while during the development of quarterback J.J. McCarthy out of Michigan. Oregon State tops UC Irvine 11-6 today. They move on to the Super Regional in Lexington, Kentucky. The Oregon Ducks will play the Super Regional at College Station. Padres' Tucupita Marcano is facing a lifetime ban for betting on Pirates games while rehabbing from a knee injury. 4 other minor league players are facing potential discipline for gambling as well. Sad news out of the NFL. Cowboys Hall of Famer Larry Allen has passed away at the age of 52. The NBA Finals kick off Thursday. Tip-off at 5:30. ABC. Celtics a 6.5-point favorite in Game 1 over the Mavericks. And Oklahoma falls to Florida today 9-3. Those two teams will face off again tomorrow. The winner will move on to the Women's College World Series championship round. Oh, by the way, shout out to whoever handles the music at Willamette Valley Country Club. I did hear both days when I rolled up, and I got there early to get out on the practice tee and get warmed up and get my body stretched out. The first day I rolled up, Al Jarreau was belting throughout the clubhouse and the practice area. I could hear it, and I was like, oh, this is nice. Yacht Rock was being played at the appropriate time during the warm-up. So I appreciated that and respected that. So thank you, whoever controls the music out there. Very nice.
I don't know who has that responsibility, but it's a big responsibility.
Tip of the cap, Godfather,
Yes.
tip of the cap. We got a lot of things we're going to get to today. We have a Bo Nix update coming up at 5:20, and we'll dive into the matchup in the NBA Finals, which won't kick off until Thursday. I'm sure glad the NBA Finals, there's like a 1-month delay from the conference finals to the NBA Finals.
It seemed like it.
The guys are going to be fully rested, man.
This has been too long. I mean, they don't play till Thursday. That's too long,
Well,
isn't it?
what they used to do was when the conference championships would end, based on when they would end, they would reschedule the start of the NBA Finals. But now they had the hard set date of Thursday, and they just decided to give everyone that type of time off. You can get away with it this time of year. Now, if this was during the NFL season where you're coming off a couple of, series where you've got their attention, you wouldn't want to wait. You'd want to jump into the next series. But, this time of year, there's not as much going on, so you can get away with that kind of stuff. But I just don't – the rest is good for the players, but at the same time, it can also, kind of dampen your execution and your play. And I just hope we don't see a sloppy Game 1 by the extended rest period. So
Yeah, that would bother me a little bit. These guys are going to be a little bit rusty.
Yeah. But at the same time, if you're Boston and hoping that Porzingis is going to get back on the floor,
they couldn't ask for anything better to get him back.
They should hit up the commissioner and ask for a week extension. Can we push it back another week, sir? He might say yes if the players ask.
But you know what? If he doesn't play now, what conclusion would you draw from that?
That they've been lying about his status for quite some time.
Yeah, because they said he'd be back in Game 4 of the conference finals.
My instincts tell me that he's not going to play in the finals, that they're acting as if he might play because they don't want to give up or show their cards. So, hey, he could return. It might be Game 2. He might play in Game 1, but they know that he's not going to play. It's just weird. When teams get weird and very vague about injuries, then I usually get suspect on whether or not the guy's going to play. That's just how I operate. Well, one of the guys that's in the NBA Finals, he's like the biggest mystery in the NBA right now. Kyrie Irving. How did he go from being a crazy guy that thought the earth was flat, going AWOL on his team in Brooklyn, irritating everyone in Boston, to all of a sudden a model citizen, terrific teammate, and back to playing great basketball for the Dallas Mavericks in a situation that no one thought would work? Like, I'm trying to figure it out. Like I tried to figure out James Harden and Russell Westbrook accepting their roles with the Clippers. It doesn't make sense to me. But this thing in Dallas doesn't make sense because Kyrie needs the ball. Luka needs the ball. Kyrie's not known as a great defender, and yet neither is Luka. And now you've got those two guys playing great basketball and giving a good effort defensively, which is helping their entire cause and a big reason why they're in the NBA Finals.
And nobody yet has figured all this out to our satisfaction. I haven't seen any real explanation for Kyrie Irving's complete turnabout.
I want to read a couple of paragraphs from Mark Wicker's column on Kyrie Irving.
Yeah, on Substack, by the way.
On Substack, and he used to be a longtime writer for the OC Register. He's one of the best. You know him really well, and you actually introduced me to him, and I've interviewed him multiple times. I respect his work, but it sounds like he's just as confused as we are as to what's going on with Kyrie Irving. But in this piece on Substack, according to Wicker, it says, Kyrie Irving is a high-functioning human being, certainly no Fisher, but part of the basketball world got caught up in one oar that he had in the water and forgot the magnificence of the boat. When the Brooklyn Nets traded Irving to the Dallas Mavericks during the 2022-23 season, a Fort Worth columnist said it wouldn't work because Irving was crazy. Irving was famous for opining that the world might be flat. More crucially, he had refused to get vaccinated for the COVID-19 and was prohibited from playing home games by the city of New York. At first, the Nets decided he wouldn't play anywhere, then allowed him to go on the road, which made no sense from a public health standpoint. Even more crucially, Irving tweeted a link to a documentary called Hebrews to Negroes, Wake Up America, that claimed Hebrew Israelites who are black were actually the chosen people, not Jews. Irving was asked point blank if he was an anti-Semite and cryptically replied, I cannot be anti-Semitic if I know where I came from. He later said he was talking about North Jersey, where he grew up. The Nets suspended him anyways. He had theories about JFK's assassination and the moon landing, of course. During the 2020 bubble playoffs, he wanted to organize a boycott to protest police brutality. Shortly after he bought a house for George Floyd's family, the Nets certainly wanted him to stay in his lane when Irving couldn't be confined to one road atlas. Instead of signing him long-term, they traded him to Dallas. And when the Mavericks missed the playoffs and the play-in last season, people theorized that his presence would force Luka Doncic to demand his own trade. Quote, he has helped disband the Nets, cost himself tens of millions in endorsements, lost countless fans, and in the final coup de grace, may be helped sink the entire Mavericks franchise. That, according to an author out of the New York Magazine. So his history is checkered. We know that, Godfather.
Yeah.
So why the change? And why now? Was it just simply a situation where, I had asked you about this last week, where, you know, he had to go through a lot of work with the NBA, with the commissioner. He had to meet with people from the Jewish community. And, you know, a lot of times when you do work and you go out there and you talk to the people who you've hurt, I think sometimes that can change you.
Yeah.
It certainly has for me when I've said dumb things, which is frequent. Offended someone, I get a chance to talk with them, and it helps me to realize that, hey, I was wrong and I hurt someone, and I'm sorry about that. So maybe that's what it is. Maybe he sabotaged his situation in Brooklyn because he wanted to get to a better spot, and Dallas is that spot. That's possible. Maturity, I guess that's a possibility as well.
Yeah.
Or maybe he was motivated to realize that, hey, this is my last chance, and if I don't get it right now, then I'm done, and I won't get a chance to get paid again. I don't know how to explain it, because I did not think that any of this with Dallas was going to work. I thought it would be a disaster.
Yeah, I think one of the key paragraphs that Wicker wrote was something of an explanation, and he writes so well. But he talked about Bobby Fischer, the chess master, and how crazy he was.
Yeah.
He's done some really goofy things, you know, and now they say he's just riding buses around L.A. all day long and talking to people. But Wicker wrote, with all that, there's only one person to choose to win a chess match that would decide your life, and that was Fischer. Idiosyncrasy is often the first cousin of talent. Some of these people who are very idiosyncratic,
Yeah.
a little bit strange, are also among the most talented. And you've seen that with geniuses who behave rather, you know, hard to believe, hard to describe.
Yeah.
And so I think with this guy, you're talking about a guy who's a little strange, but when he puts his mind to his chosen craft, it's really good.
Yeah.
And he's doing that now. He's really focused on the game, strangely enough, instead of being focused on all these extraneous things that he was so concerned about, you know, sometimes the shape of the earth, you know, which probably shouldn't spend an awful lot of time thinking about.
Yeah. You're right. There are a lot of brilliant people that socially they find it difficult to live amongst people because they can't relate to them. They're brilliant in their own field. Heck, my brother's IQ is off the charts. I know his brain works at a different level than mine, and I think that's part of the reason why he and I have never really connected well. I'm too simple-minded for someone like him. I'm not even joking.
Yeah, I know what you mean.
I worry
Yeah.
about normal, frivolous guy things. Who's got time for that nonsense?
You're worried about your next bag of pretzels.
I know. Hey, did Dwight bring Snyder's in today? Good. I'm going to go get 15 of those for 130 calories. That's the type of crap my mind's consumed with. Whoa, when's my next tea time? But smart people are worried about that their minds work in a different way. And that's why I think even my son, who is autistic, his brain works on a different wavelength. And so I think times I irritate him because he's like, why are you trying to bore me with such weird stuff? But, with Kyrie, he is brilliant in his own way on the basketball floor.
Oh, gosh.
He's one of the best. I'm just glad he's back because look at what he's doing now. You know what's crazy when I listen to him now, Godfather? When he's interviewed or when he's talking or communicating with other people, I enjoy it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And I thought the same thing when he went AWOL and Steve Nash had no idea where he was at. Hey, coach, where's Kyrie? I have no idea. I was like, Kyrie is crazy. Who goes AWOL as an NBA player and no one knows where he's at in the middle of a season? Abandon your teammates? No one does that, but he did that.
Easily distracted, I think, would be the way he was.
And wasn't he doing that deal where he's like running around one of the courts with the incense and burning incense? He's done a lot of kooky stuff. The flat earth and the JFK, everyone's got the flat earth stuff is just goofy. The earth's not flat, clown.
This is Wicker's final paragraph. I love this. Irving's advocates say he's a victim of his own curiosity. His critics say he should consider who he's influencing. The rest of us should just choose whether to watch him play or listen to him speculate. Only one of those choices is irresistible.
Wow. Do you think the Mavericks thought it was going to work this well when they made the move to get Kyrie?
How could they have ever guessed that? Now, Mark Cuban's going to act like, oh, we knew it all along. No, I don't think so.
That felt like a desperation move. Like, we've got to go out and get a star. Who's available? Kyrie.
Yeah.
Isn't he crazy? Yes. Let's do it anyways. We got to make Luka happy.
Well, Nico Harrison was the GM who made the deal, and he's been a Nike guy for years. I assume he had a lot of dealings with Kyrie, who was a Nike guy.
Yeah.
So you figure there was probably some sort of bridge between those two people. And maybe Nico is, hey, look, we're going to make this deal, but, you got to play here. This is a place you can play. I'll make it easy for you. Just go play.
You brought up a good point. Maybe Nico's the key behind the turnaround.
I have a feeling that might have a lot to do with it. And he's not getting enough credit for putting this team together anyway. I mean, the deals he made at the deadline were the reasons they're there.
Yeah, they've got Kyrie, Gafford, Lively. I mean, the moves they made have been great. Washington has been phenomenal. He's been monstrous.
Yeah.
He'll never get the attention he deserves, but Washington, in every series, has come up with a big shot, a big play in basically every game.
Plays the defensive end real well, too.
Oh, he's strong. That's a strong ball player right there. Well, I'm glad we had that discussion. I still can't figure out Kyrie. I'm still baffled,
I don't
Godfather.
think anybody can.
All right, we'll keep things rolling here on the show. When we come back, great story out of The Athletic on Dylan Gabriel, why he's at Oregon, why he left Oklahoma, and I think you'll like it, and it shares insight into what his thinking was. And then after that, we're going to talk about the importance of what it is you need to get to the NBA Finals these days. You got the Rip City Drive.